Hey y'all, my name is Spencer Pratt and I'm coming back to you with another Storytime video. For those of y'all who have never seen my channel or anything like that, I'm a real estate investor in Dallas-Fort Worth, and I get the opportunity to encounter all sorts of weird situations and things in order to purchase a house and be able to sell it. So this affords me the opportunity to encounter all sorts of weird situations and weirder people in order to purchase this house. And this is one of my most chaotic and crazy situations that I've ever been through. Normally things get a bit weird, but they typically go pretty smoothly. Just get the paper signed and get them moved on, and I'm, on my way to sell the house after that. But little did I know, I was about to spend 48 hours dealing with the final boss of Karen's. And before I go back to, the story, if y'all like this sort of content, if you're enjoying the story times, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss out when I post one. Also, if you're interested in getting into real estate yourself, I have a lot of other content that, could be helpful for you, and I'm aiming to grow this channel. And so having a good community helps us do that. Okay, so let's get back to the story. So I get a call one day, and a guy that works with us had gotten a house under contract, and it had been on the foreclosure list. So we needed to go get it cleaned out and help the lady who was going to lose the house move on to her next accommodation. No big deal, right? Can't be that bad. That's what I thought, at least. Except here's the thing. This lady was absolutely crazy. So I get everything planned out, and I figure out where the nearest U-Haul truck is and all the stuff that I'm going to need to get this house cleaned out and get it ready. And at this point, I have never seen or been inside the house, yet I'm just going off what my buddy was kind of telling me. So first things first, after getting my stuff prepped as best I could, was to go and get my day laborers. So I got in my truck and I drove to the place in my town where they all hang out, and I picked up two guys who ended up being super chill. And we'll talk more about them later. And pretty much we just drove like an hour and a half through traffic to get to this lady's house. And I'm pretty sure she was kind of already pissed when I got there. I mean, that's just me being honest. So then we get there, and now it's time to take a look at what I'm actually about to get myself into. This is a pretty big house, around 3,000 square feet, and it is an absolute disaster. It's like totally jacked. Not necessarily like the walls are coming down and everything, just it's a mess. It's a mess. And the entire place was just covered in stuff. This lady had so much stuff that it honestly wasn't even like useful stuff, it just collected space. So already I'm thinking, whoa, this is not going to fit in an apartment, and it's not going to really fit in a storage unit. And the first thing that we do after figuring this out is just start paring the stuff down and figure out what are the essential things that we actually need to bring somewhere. And that's when the arguing began. She was kind of wigging out on me because in her delusional mind, this was all just going to somehow fit in one piece and in one day move to her apartment. And just a side note here, I'm not exaggerating when I say that in some of the rooms, the boxes were almost ceiling high. Like just a mental picture, right? Think a pretty big house with ceiling high rooms full of boxes. And let's not forget that smell. As it is with all of these houses, they just smell awful. Just a combo of cat piss, dust, and all sorts of other stuff, and it gets worse the more we go on. So she kind of yells at me, and she's threatening to call my boss, who is really just the guy that we work with, and I still have no clue why she thought that I was some professional mover, and I think maybe the guy that got it under contract had told her that I was, but yeah, that's not the case. So, kind of whatever. And I still have no clue what's kind of going on with the lady or, anything like that. And after that, I'm kind of starting to get a little pissed because, it's like I've walked into a lion's den here. I was I was anchored here and the job was here, So I hope y'all can kind of understand that, right? Like where I'm coming from on there. And I get in my truck and I start driving to the U-Haul, and I go pick up the box truck, so that way we can get whatever this lady is trying to bring over to her next place, as well as some stuff for her to put in the storage, right? That's what we get this truck for. Even though she hadn't really packed that much stuff, she still thought that she would rush us, like throughout the whole thing. It was as if she had some sort of deadline, which kind of was there, but again, why didn't you do your job of packing the things? That's really, you shouldn't be yelling at me, you should be yelling at you. So I'm at the U-Haul and I get all my papers ready to go, and I'm in the truck ready to get out of there, and little did I know I was about to make a huge mistake. See, the guy that was buying the house, he told me to make sure that I bring her a check that we were supposed to give her and make sure that I gave her a specific document. She was really, really tripping about that check. And I kind of remember that at the house, but I didn't think too much of it because she was tripping about everything else. And so I got in the truck and I drove the box truck to the thing because I'm thinking I got to get this job done, And I left my truck in the U-Haul yard because I didn't really trust my day laborers to drive my truck, and I didn't really want them to drive the box truck. So that was kind of the only way that was going to work out, So I get in this massive box truck, I get on the road, and it's a pretty narrow road. It's got a lot of curves and stuff. It's just one that you want to be careful on, box truck or not. It's got a lot of potholes, curves, changes, and it's got a lot of these roundabouts, and there's construction going on. And that's very important that you remember that part. Remember that this road is hectic and dangerous. So I finally make it back to the house. I park the box truck. My guys have began moving everything out kind of onto the yards. That way we can load it faster in between trips. And it just seems like this lady's list of stuff that she wants to bring continues to grow and grow and grow. Even though this whole thing, again, really should have gotten done before I got there. I had everything set up to be a mover, but not a packer. I wasn't planning on being a packer. And we ran out of boxes. She had run out of boxes. So this is another problem just to kind of throw on top of everything. So I told my guys to go move some stuff and this and that, and things are pretty chill at this point. The Karen lady, she's on the phone and she's just yelling at everyone and walking around, just kind of doing her Karen thing, Then about 30 minutes goes by and we're getting things packed up and getting her things loaded up onto the truck. And I'm already kind of on bad terms with this lady at this point. She just kept trying to demean me and stuff, and I'm just not that guy, I'm just not really that guy, you know what I mean? But she starts tripping about her check, where it's at and all this stuff. And so I explained to her, I had brought it, but I left it in my truck because I didn't really think it was that big of a deal. And I didn't really think that she needed it right then and there. And, just kind of a side thing, when you're dealing with pre-foreclosure houses, sometimes you're dealing with kind of shady, shifty characters. And so I kind of wanted to withhold the check until we got her out of there, just as like a bargaining chip, right? So that way I don't have as many holdups, because as long as you cooperate, then you get your check, But I didn't know that she hadn't paid the deposit for her apartment. And she was going to need to pay for it with the money on that check. And now Karen is absolutely freaking out on me. I mean, she's going ballistic. She's having a full-blown temper tantrum. And this is like a 46-year-old woman, No, she's probably older than that, man. She's probably like in her 50s. And she's just flipping on me. And so, when people flip out on me, I kind of crack up a little bit. So that probably doesn't help. And at the end of the day, I can kind of understand, right? I mean, this whole process, it's like hella stressful. And my thing, though, is it's like, why make it hard on yourself by going off on the people that are there trying to help you? That doesn't make sense to me. So then, she calls my boy who put the whole thing together. And I ended up calling him, too. And I explained what was actually happening. And all the while, I'm still trying to figure out what needs to go on this truck and what doesn't need to go, because we're trying to get out of here at this point. I'm starting to get done. It's one of those things. It's like, dang, it's only 11 o'clock in the morning and I've already been through all this. So now she gets off the phone and she realizes that the only way for her to get that check is to drive me back to the U-Haul and get it out of my truck. And so we get in the car and we start heading that same route that we had came, you know, down the dangerous road. And so it's very important you remember that, by the way. A little bit of foreshadowing there. And this lady, she's literally going like 75 and a 40, and she's freaking out on me at the same time. And just in general being crazy. Like, I'm not lying. She's just in there like cutting people off. She's on the phone. She's screaming at me. She's on the phone screaming at people. She's pedal to the metal. Like, I'm sitting here. I'm not normally one to like trip out, you know, because I do my fair share of driving. But like, dog, I got my seatbelt on. I'm pulling it tight. I'm making sure. I'm like, oh man, like this is about to be bad. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking like, dog, she might crash the car. Like, if she does not calm down, and like, this is starting to get real serious, you know, I'm to that point where it's like, dang, bro, I'm in some danger here. So I try and start finding ways to calm her down, and eventually I get through to her, and we make some sort of connections, you know, and just, she starts to calm down. And eventually she apologizes for freaking me out, or for freaking out on me, not for freaking me out. She didn't apologize about that, but and we finally make it to the U-Haul yard, and I run into my truck. I grab the check. We also get some boxes, and we get on the road to the house. And we finally make it there, and for the next few hours, I go back and forth between this cycle of chilling the woman out and her freaking out on me. Like, we just did this kind of yo-yo game for hours. And it got to the point that the laborers, they're starting to pick up on it. They're cracking jokes in Spanish to me about it. And I thought that was pretty funny. You know, these guys are pretty chill. They're some real dogs, man. Some real troopers for putting up with all this. I really appreciated that. So I kind of ride this cycle out for the rest of the day till we get all our stuff packed up, ready to be moved to the storage. And now we're starting to make our final trips to go get things just kind of sorted out, you know. And I can't remember exactly the perfect order of how all that went. But so me and the laborers, we all go to Chick-fil-A, and we ate for a while, and then we head back, which I'm pretty sure she tripped out about us going and having lunch too, because she was just rushing us. I do remember that, actually. She tripped out about us going and getting Chick-fil-A. It's like, well, were you going to feed us? No. So I think we made like 4 trips back and forth to the new apartment that she had, and you know, her storage, that was further away. But her apartment, by the way, it was right down that same kind of dangerous road. So, you know, we just keep working, and things are back to normal. She started tripping out on me again, and she realized that we wouldn't be moving any more of her stuff after the last trip. Like, my laborers were tired. I was tired. This was just going to be it. The rest of the stuff was just going to be kind of junk, and that was going to be that. So the stuff that she had all had, it wasn't going to fit. It wasn't going to work. And at this point, I was just like, okay, whatever, woman. Like, it's going to happen the way it's going to happen. Like, that's it. You know, I'm sure you guys would be the same way too. So me and my boys, we get to the apartment, and we're waiting on her for feels like whatever. Like, I've got the box truck backed in, everything's ready. You know, there's this long hallway. We've got everything like perfectly lined up to move stuff, you know, just straight into the hallway, into the apartment, back to the truck. It's all lined up to be that way. But we're waiting at the door. We're all sitting on the back of the box truck, just like, bro, where is she at? Like, what's the holdup, you know? Next thing you know, I'm getting a call on the phone, and it's the guy, you know, from before that kind of got the house under contract and everything. And she wrecked her car. The lady, driving like an absolute lunatic, wrecked her car at the roundabout. Like, here's the road. So road this way, apartment complex like right here, roundabout right here. She crashed at that roundabout. There were 2 roundabouts, and the second one was the turn for her apartment, and she crashed at the first one. So now yours truly gets to go pick up Miss Karen in the box truck. So I think what we did was we actually moved all of the stuff out of the box truck and had it empty, and I drove the empty box truck to go pick her up. And I picked up her and her daughter, and honestly, bro, this lady, like, she treated her daughter like crap, dude. Like, just real rude to her and stuff. You could just kind of tell that she had, like, nerfed her kid's confidence. I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into that, you know, but it just felt like that. So the craziness of the day thankfully kind of unfolded, and we're just left to drive the box truck back to U-Haul and get my truck and prepare for the next day. So now the next day rolls around and I go pick up the guys at the butt crack of dawn, which to be honest was probably like 7 a.m. And we roll out through rush hour traffic just to get there. And the thing is, I had called to have a dumpster come so that way we could get all the leftover junk and stuff out of the house as fast as possible, but there was this big delay. So we get to the house and we decide to make the best use of our time just by cleaning the house of like all the things. And so we started with ripping out those carpets, and they were absolutely disgusting. We had to go and buy masks and protective gear and stuff, dude. Like, I'm pretty sure I like, I bought rolls of duct tape, and we all would like duct tape our sleeves together so that to our gloves and stuff, because these carpets were disgusting. They just never cleaned up. They had this like one-eyed raggedy dog. And it would just like it was one of those little small ones, you know, the useless ones. It would just like take dumps everywhere and pee everywhere, and it's just nasty, dude. It was just absolutely gross. The dog was like mangy too. So we get all this stuff moved out to the front, and there's really nothing more to do at this point because the dumpster's not there. And my guys are tired, and everyone's just kind of like, we're done with this. We're over it. So it's time to go to lunch, and because I just feel like, okay, that'll kind of bring morale back up with the guys so I can get this thing done. And we ended up going to a pretty nice Mexican spot. We sat down, we had a nice lunch, and you know, these guys deserved it, man. Lupe and Francisco, like, they worked real hard, and so I figured, all right, we'll treat them to a nice lunch. And by the way, back more about Lupe. His name was Lupe, and shout him out because he was a famous singer down in Mexico, and I think he does some singing and stuff up here in the States. And so we just, you know, we sat there, we swapped stories and stuff, and we chilled for about an hour, and then we returned back to the house. Of course, dumpster still not there, and so we just got a little bit more done. The guys were feeling better. We cleaned out some of the final rooms, and we just kind of had to take a break, you know, because I wanted to get this all done today. That was the big push. And I was like, well, I don't want to just like keep the guys here sitting. Let's go do something fun, because I'm trying to get morale up at this point. Because at this point, bro, I have it in my head, I am not coming back here tomorrow. Like, I'm done with this after today. And so we just, we drove around, and we ended up going to some cool little spots, dude. I got to go to a cigar lounge, and we went to Cabela's and took a look at the fish and the boats and, like, you know, all sorts of stuff. Just walked around, chilled out in the AC. And thankfully, by the time that we'd made it home from our errands, you know, the dumpster was there. And we just went at it, man. We filled up this massive dumpster. I forgot the terms, but it's the biggest one. Like, it's the biggest one that the company had. And we filled it up with everything that was in that house, dude. And, yeah. Okay, I don't know what to film here. But, so basically, we got this dumpster full, and we just piled in that truck, and we rolled home. And, you know, hanging out with those dudes was pretty wild. And I ended up getting a pretty wild story out of it too. So, you know, that was that. That was the story of the absolutely crazy Karen and the 2 days of hell that was moving her into an apartment. So if y'all thought that was an interesting story, please consider subscribing for more. I really like doing these videos, and I hope to get better at them as I go. And if you guys are also interested in real estate, seriously, check out my channel, check out my other stuff. We have that stuff for you, and I'm trying to build that out for people to get better at that too. So with that being said, I hope y'all have a great day. Thanks for listening to my story. Y'all take care.